Hey everybody. So today's Tuesday, and I have decided that at the very least Tuesday will be the day when I update my YouTube and post at least one video. So be sure to check in on Tuesdays. Although I've been getting such a big reaction in my messages and emails to the series I've been doing on emotional abuse that the odds are that I will be producing some videos more often than just weekly on Tuesdays. I do carry a pretty full client roster right now. I am getting ready to launch an online course, but I feel this work is super important. So I'm going to try my best to put out as much as I can. You guys can support me in that by, subscribing and liking and sharing the videos that might resonate with you, with your own audience. I feel like this message is important. When I try to support my clients through emotional abuse and I look for resources to send their way, there's not a lot of comprehensive video resources out there, which is really what prompted me to start doing this. So if you feel that way, or if you feel like this might support somebody or might resonate, please feel free to share and I would appreciate it. So thank you. That said, today's video that we're going to discuss today is we're really defining a term. It's interesting to me. I was recently being interviewed for a course that a good friend of mine, Coach Kate Anthony, I'll leave a link to her Instagram. I don't know if she has a YouTube channel, but I'll leave a link in the comments to her Instagram at least and her website. She's the divorce attorney, or not attorney, she's the divorce coach, and she helps people decide how to get out of their marriages or if it's time or things like that. She interviewed me recently for a series she does for her clients, and one question that comes up for her frequently, and that I've noticed has been coming up for me too, is around the term gaslighting and what is gaslighting. For those of us who work in the self-development, self-improvement field, we're saturated with terms all the time. We become really familiar with the things we're really familiar with, and we forget that not everybody knows these terms. Not everybody has access to understanding what is going on, what is happening, what are the words for the things they're experiencing. And especially in abusive dynamics, it's hard for people who are being abused to research these things on their own, which is another reason why I think videos and podcasts and things like that are really helpful, because there's not a paper trail. There's not like the visual trail so much as there is if you're going to a website and looking things up. So I wanted to define for you guys what the term gaslighting means and talk a little bit about how to recognize if it's happening for you. Gaslighting is basically when an abuser takes something that has happened, that has factually happened, and they outright say to you, oh look here, my cat's joining us. They outright say to you, no, that's false, that didn't happen like that. And they just tell you, they lie. They just say, you must be crazy. That didn't happen. And they are so convincing that they really get into your brain, you being the victim of abuse, and they make you question reality. They make you question what you know. This is a method designed to pull the rug out from underneath people. It's designed to have people start to feel crazy and to feel like they can't trust their own reality, because something will happen. They will say, well, this happened, and their abuser will go, no, it didn't. And they're left looking around like, huh? And the insidious and sneaky part of this is that someone who's emotionally abusive has also been working to remove their victims' friends and family from their sphere. So the victim doesn't have anyone to check in about this with. They don't have anyone they trust to say, am I nuts, or is this this isn't okay, right? Right? Or they'll maybe have one or two people, but slowly the abuser will erode the victim's trust in those people until the abuser has the victim believing that only she or he knows what reality is, and that the victim is crazy, cannot trust themselves, and they're left feeling like completely lost, bewildered, confused, and not knowing what's going on. This is also incredibly damaging because what happens is that the victim of abuse is so confused as to what is reality and what is not that they begin to question their own abuse. And they begin to question if things are really as bad as they think they are, if they are worthy of getting out. You know, they begin to question, they begin to believe the lies being sold to them about themselves even. Because the gaslighter, the abuser, will do this about irrelevant things too. They will just lie about like random dumb things. And the other thing is they like to build up this false persona. They like to tell you, the victim, how honest they are, how trustworthy they are, what a good person they are. They like to really add to the confusion by making themselves elevated and seeming like they are this wonderful person, so that you're like, well, if you're so great, then you would never XYZ, which is the exact thing they are doing to you. But you can't believe it because you're like, wait, now I'm extra confused. And it's all a tactic. It's all intentional. I have here listed 7 signs of what somebody who gaslights does and what they're... Now, Psychology Today is calling this a gaslighter. For me, this is just an abusive person, an emotionally abusive person. Somebody who's a gaslighter has a lot of... I'm trying not to swear in these videos, you guys, so please cut me some slack if I make a mistake or two. But I am trying my best, please know that. Somebody who's a gaslighter will share a lot of traits in common with a narcissist. There's so much overlap there. But we'll talk about that in another video. I'm going to describe for you, I think later today, hopefully, exactly what a narcissist is, and also exactly how to get out of an emotionally abusive relationship and or a relationship with a narcissist. So please check those out. I also am making playlists that are all similar topics grouped together, so you can just go through those all at once. But anyway, so getting back to the... Oops, malfunction right there. Getting back to the topic at hand, a gaslighter. So number 1, they lie and exaggerate. Something as little as... Well, so the term gaslighting, honestly, it actually comes from this movie from the 1940s called Gaslight. And what happened in this movie was something like... the guy would make the lights flicker in the house. And the wife would go, "Did you see that?" And he would go, "No, what are you talking about?" And he would do it all the time. And every time she would ask for validation, he would go, "No, you're nuts." Until she actually went completely crazy. And that honestly is the worry here. That's the fear here of these situations, is that the person who's being abused just loses all sense of reality, all sense of themselves. And they don't have the ability to trust themselves, and they don't have the strength of conviction or strength of will to do their self-work to get themselves back out of it, because they just have been so eroded. Unfortunately, this does happen. There are people who are lost to their abusive relationship dynamics for the entirety of their life. Now, if you're watching this video, that means there's hope for you that that's not going to happen. Reach out for support. Don't give up on yourself. Keep trying. On average, it takes someone 8 tries to get out of an emotionally abusive relationship. So you can do it. Keep trying. Don't give up on yourself, okay? Gentleness with the self. So anyway, the first thing is lying and exaggerating. A gaslighter will lie and exaggerate about anything and everything. Little things, big things. They will just, they're seeking to undermine you. They're seeking to make you not trust your own version of reality, your own assessment of reality specifically. They're saying what you saw is not correct. They're saying your assessment is off. The way that you see the world is wrong. Something's off there. And they're lying and they're exaggerating, and it's not okay. The second thing they do is they repeat their lies. There's a lot of repetition. So, for example, if they've set their sights on getting you to not trust a certain person in your life, they will lie and exaggerate about that person in your life. They will just make things up. They will also say, you know, well, I don't like the way she does this. I don't like the way she says that. They will fabricate complete falsehoods about that person that you can't really verify or not, because of course if you ask them, they're going to say no. It's this whole crazy whirlwind, okay? And then they will drive it home as much as possible by bringing it up all the time. They will drive it home through a lot of repetition, just like I'm doing now. Bring it up, bring it up, bring it up. Out of nowhere, seemingly, or just all the time. You can't let your guard down. You can't relax because suddenly this person's getting brought up, and it's like it whittles away at your mind, though, because the repetition, what it's doing is it's training your brain to fill in the blanks and say, she's a bad person, whoever they're talking about, so that when she brings up her name, your brain starts to go, is a bad person, is a bad person, is a bad person, because it's been trained that way. It's like a song getting stuck in your head. It's a really sneaky tactic, but it's pretty effective. The third thing that happens is when you bring up the lies, when you bring up the claims, when you bring up the way that they're fabricating reality, or they're challenging your version of reality, they escalate dramatically. It's like non-congruent, the topic at hand and the way they escalate it. So it like scares you, it's like drama, and then they blame you, of course, for bringing it up, and they blame you for things escalating because they don't take personal responsibility for anything ever. Let's just like get that out of the way right now. Your fault, you shouldn't bring it up, you should know better, so you get trained not to ever bring it up. Now ask yourself, why would this be the case? Why would they benefit from escalating the situation so much when you call them on it? Well, the answer to that is because they know that they're full of shit. Excuse me, I cursed again. They're full of it. They know that. They know they're full of it. And so, of course, a huge tactic that abusers use, that liars use, that manipulators use, is to overreact to things that they don't want to talk about because they know they're wrong. Inside them, they know they're wrong. And so they get explosive when something gets brought to their attention that they know they're lying about, they know they're wrong about. But in doing that, they're training you to never question them, never bring it up, just accept it as reality because it's too difficult for you to ever, go in there and challenge their authority. So you're like, it's not worth it. But that is a way of wearing down your soul. Which leads us to number 4. Wearing down the victim is a tactic. Always being aggressive, always making the victim question themselves, always bringing these topics up, being explosive. This is how they do it. This is how they drive it home. And so doing all of this leads us to number 5, which is creating codependency within their victim, within the abuse victim. So the party in the relationship who is being abused, who is not the perpetrator of the abuse, they become codependent upon the abuser. And that is because they've been using the abuser to tell them what reality is. They no longer trust themselves. They no longer understand what's going on. They no longer feel safe assessing the world in their own capacity. And so they become codependent on the abuser. They also become codependent on the abuser for the abuser to tell them, like, well, what's my mood today? How's today going to go? Because, like, the abuse victim is waiting to hear from the abuser. Are we okay today? What's happening? Like, what am I going to hear now? What's it going to be? When their phone dings with that first text in the day or whatever it might be, like, there's, like, a second where it's like, okay, let me read the temperature of the situation. If you have a visceral response to seeing that person's name show up on your screen, and this is supposed to be the person that you're in love with, and this is supposed to be your person, and you feel terrified, or you have a second where you're like, hold your breath or get scared, that's a sign for you right there that this is not your relationship. I just want to affirm that for you. That's a sign for you right there that this is not the relationship for you. Okay? If you feel fear, hesitancy, pause, doubt, concern, if you're waiting for that person to tell you how your day is going to be, you are in a bad spot. Okay? So that's number 5, creating codependency on a person and requiring approval. Number 6 is interesting because this is the thing. This is the drug, okay? A gaslighter will also instill some false hope in you. This is where it's like so shared with just a narcissist or just an emotionally abusive person. I mean, all of these are different terms for like a similar thing, which is like a person who is abusing you emotionally. They're going to create a sense of false hope. They're going to sometimes be kind to you. They're going to sometimes say, oh, you're right about that. They're going to sometimes throw you a bone. They're going to calculate when and how to do it. And they're going to do that so that you can never say, it's always this way. You're always mean to me. You're always awful. Because no one's going to stay if it's always. But so many people will stay if it's 95% of the time bad and 5% okay. A lot of people will stay in that situation. So these abusers realize, well, what's your percentage going to be? And they'll throw you a bone to just keep you right teetering on the edge. And if they feel you pull back or if you try to leave, this is why they show up at your door crying, sorry, they're suddenly changed. They'll fight you to have you back because they like a conquest. Not necessarily because they actually want you. They want what they can do to you. They want what they've been doing to you. They want that control. They don't like you deciding to leave. They don't like you deciding to stand up for yourself. So they'll give you just enough that you can't say always. And then they get to use it against you. So they say to you, I'll change. I'll never like do it again. I won't, whatever. And then it happens again, and they get to say to you, well, you did X, Y, Z leading up to this thing, so that's why it happened again. It's your fault. And then we're back in the cycle where the victim blames themselves and says, that's true, I did do that. Maybe if I had been better, it wouldn't have happened. The victim never says, it doesn't matter what I do. You are an adult. You're in charge of your own behavior. Behave like a good person. And so ultimately, the whole thing comes down to number 7, which is just that they try to dominate and control you. That's what the whole thing's about. I've had several clients this week ask me, well, why does this happen? What makes someone this way? I don't understand it. Can you just tell me why? And I'm always like, I wish I could tell you why. I would love to know why. I don't know why. I do know that some people just want the control. They don't want the same kind of relationship that you or I might want. They don't want the loving, kind, really sensitive, intimate relationship where you open your soul up and they open their soul up and you have a real connection and you ask each other, what are the dreams in your heart and how can we help each other have that? You know, that's the relationship I want. That's the relationship that most people would want. Abusers don't want that. I don't know if abusers are capable of that. But they certainly don't want it, and they certainly don't want it with the person they're abusing. They don't respect you. You cannot have intimacy. You cannot have love. You cannot have shared mutual dreams with someone you don't respect. And an abuser does not respect their victim. They tread all over them. They talk to them like they're nothing. So an abuser doesn't want the same thing. They want to control. They want to put you down. They seek to control you. They seek to have you bolster them up, fulfill whatever their need is. But it's not the same kind of relationship that you want. This isn't a relationship at all. It's an abuse dynamic. And I'm so sorry if that's what you learned love looks like. I'm so sorry. I used to think that's what love looked like too. I had to struggle. I had to drag myself through hell and back to learn that that is not what love is. And one of the biggest realizations I had was when I decided I could define what did love mean to me. So sit with that with yourself. What would love look like for you? And how can you start to give it to yourself first and foremost? Please let me know if you have any questions. Please share if this video has resonated with you. And leave me a comment if you need any support.